I stood frozen, my eyes locked on Julian's as he whispered, "I know what he did, Ava." The sound of his voice sent shivers down my spine. I was back in the past, reliving memories I thought were long buried. But this wasn't a flashback, it was my present, and Julian was standing in my doorway, his eyes blazing with a fire that seemed to burn brighter with every passing moment. My mind flashed back to the previous night when Ethan's expression changed, his eyes narrowing in suspicion as he stared at his phone. "What's this?" he muttered, his voice barely audible. I followed his gaze, my heart skipping a beat as I saw the message on his screen. "You're being watched. You're being played." Ethan's eyes snapped up, his gaze locking onto mine, and I knew in that moment that the game was far from over. I had to keep my cool, maintain the facade of innocence, all while secretly orchestrating my revenge. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart as I thought about the events that led me to this point. I had discovered Ethan's infidelity, his year-long affair with my best friend, Rachel. The betrayal cut deep, and I knew I had to make him pay. I started to gather evidence, to build a case against him, all while keeping up the appearance of a happy marriage. But now, with Julian's sudden arrival, I felt like my whole plan was at risk of being exposed. I pushed aside the thoughts, focusing on the present moment as I stepped aside to let Julian in. "What are you doing here, Julian?" I asked, trying to sound casual despite the turmoil brewing inside me. "I've been investigating a story and it led me to your husband," he replied, his eyes never leaving mine. "I think he's involved in some shady dealings, Ava." My heart skipped a beat as I processed his words. What did he know? How much had he uncovered? I tried to play it cool, to not give away my own secrets. "What kind of dealings?" I asked, trying to sound nonchalant. Julian hesitated, his eyes searching mine. "I'm not entirely sure yet, but I have a feeling it's big. And I think you might be in danger, Ava." I felt a shiver run down my spine as he spoke. Danger. What did he mean? I ushered him into the living room, trying to compose myself. "Tell me more," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Julian sat down, his eyes locked on mine. "I've been going through some financial records, and I think Ethan's company is involved in some shady business practices. I'm talking embezzlement, money laundering, the works." My mind reeled as I listened to his words. This was bigger than I thought. I thought back to all the late nights, the business trips Ethan had taken. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. He was using his company as a front, a way to launder money and fund his own lavish lifestyle. But I had to be careful. I couldn't let Julian know my true intentions. Not yet, at least. As we talked, I couldn't help but notice the way Julian looked at me. It was like he could see right through me, like he knew my secrets. I felt a flutter in my chest, a feeling I thought I had long buried. But I pushed it aside, focusing on the task at hand. "What do you plan to do with this information?" I asked, trying to sound detached. Julian's eyes narrowed. "I'm going to expose him, Ava. I'm going to make sure he pays for what he's done." I felt a surge of excitement, of anticipation. This could be the break I needed, the push to take my revenge to the next level. But I had to be careful. I couldn't let Julian get too close. Not yet, at least. As we talked, I could feel the tension building. Ethan's business partner, Alex, had been acting strange lately, and I had a feeling he was starting to suspect something. I had to keep my plan on track, to make sure everything fell into place. But with Julian's arrival, I felt like my whole world was being turned upside down. I stood up, trying to clear my head. "I need some fresh air," I said, walking over to the window. Julian followed me, his eyes never leaving mine. "Ava, I know you're hiding something," he said, his voice low and husky. "I can see it in your eyes." "What is it?" I felt a shiver run down my spine as he spoke. How did he know? I turned to face him, my heart pounding in my chest. "I'm just worried about my marriage, Julian," I said, trying to sound convincing. I don't know what's going on with Ethan, but I know it's not good. Julian's eyes searched mine, and for a moment, I thought he saw right through me. But then his expression softened. I'll help you, Ava, he said. We'll get to the bottom of this together. I felt a surge of emotion, a mix of gratitude and fear. What was I getting myself into? But before I could respond, Julian's phone rang. He answered it, his expression changing as he listened to the person on the other end. I have to go, he said, his eyes locked on mine. But Ava, I need to ask you something. My heart skipped a beat as he spoke. What did he want to ask me? What is it? I asked, trying to sound calm. Julian's eyes seemed to bore into my soul. I've uncovered some evidence, Ava, evidence of Ethan's infidelity. And I think you already know about it. My world stopped. How did he know? What did he have? I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into the abyss. Julian's words hung in the air, a challenge, a question, and I knew in that moment that I had to make a decision. Could I trust him? Could I trust him with my plan, with my secrets? I looked into his eyes, searching for answers. And then I knew I had to take a chance. What makes you think that? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Julian's eyes locked on mine, and I knew in that moment that everything was about to change. I have proof, Ava, he said, his voice low and husky. And I think you're the only one who can help me bring him down.